All right, good afternoon. Tomorrow we will have a guest, and that will be Tess Ingram, the communications manager for UNICEF for the Middle East area. She will be briefing you on the situation of children in Gaza City amid famine and increasing military operations. And she will be briefing us live from southern Gaza tomorrow. Just to note that tomorrow's Thursday, right? On Friday, we expect to have the UNDP resident representative in Kabul brief you on the operations relating to the aftermath of the earthquake. And I know you just heard from Sharon, but I do want to thank her for all her work this year. This was her last briefing. Always a pleasure to work with such a great professional, and I know she will have a lot of success in her next assignment. The Secretary General of the United Nations is in Papua New Guinea this morning. He delivered an address to the Parliament during a special session to mark the country's 50th anniversary of independence. He told members of Parliament that for the past half-century, the people of New Guinea have worked to have a single nation out of many traditions, many islands, and many tongues. The country has undertaken the daunting task of forging a single nation from a profound diversity. It is a path that demands courage and vision, the Secretary General said, adding that the United Nations is proud to accompany this Papua New Guinea on every step. Turning to climate, the Secretary General said it's time and again that we have seen climate leadership flow not from the countries with the most wealth and the most power, but from those who know the stakes firsthand. Papua New Guinea is home to 7% of the world's biodiversity and some of the largest coral reefs and rainforests on the planet. Mr. Guterres said we must be ever vigilant in safeguarding these crucial ecosystems, adding that the country has made the case that national protection deserves global support. His full remarks were shared with you today. He also met with the leaders of the autonomous Bougainville government and met with Papua New Guinea's women leaders. Tomorrow, the Secretary will visit some projects outside of Port Moresby, and he will start making his way back to New York, where we expect him very early Saturday morning. Senior appointment that I am very pleased to share, and today Secretary General is appointing Kassim Diagne of Senegal as his special representative and head of the UN peacekeeping force in Cyprus. Mr. Diagne will succeed Colin Stewart of Canada, to whom the Secretary General is deeply grateful for strong leadership and dedicated service throughout his tenure. Mr. Diagne brings more than 25 years of experience in international affairs and senior leadership within the UN system. He's currently serving as the ad interim UN resident humanitarian coordinator in Mali since October 2024, and he was also the political director for the Secretary General in the beginning of his first term. We congratulate our friend and wish him the best of luck. Awkward pause. Thank you. Moving to Yemen and the latest developments there, and unfortunately no good news to report on that end. This morning, our colleagues told us that the Houthi de facto authorities broke into the UNDP complex in Sana'a. So far, UNICEF and World Food Program officers remain under Houthi control. Since yesterday, the number of detained national staff in this round remains at 18, and they remain under the detention and control of the Houthi de facto authorities. Of course, the Secretary General strongly condemns the forced entry by these security forces into our offices in Sana'a, and we reiterate that the safety and security of UN personnel and property must be guaranteed, and the inviolability of UN premises must be respected at all times. And again, we call for the immediate and unconditional release of all those who've been detained, both yesterday and before that. As you know, there are many others who remain under detention, and those include our own staff, but also staff from international and national NGOs, civil society, and diplomatic missions. Turning to Afghanistan, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says that following the earthquake over the weekend, assessment and response efforts continue amid very challenging conditions. Aftershocks are causing further hardship in the earthquake area, with many families forced to stay outdoors. These aftershocks are also impacting rescue efforts and assessments in the region. Despite these difficulties, food and shelter distribution have started, as well as the provision of health assistance, including through mobile health and nutrition teams. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that urgent priorities remain shelter, medical supplies, drinking water, food, and sanitation. Also, given this is a country that was in conflict for so many years, our colleagues at the UN Mine Action Service have warned that 25 square kilometers of land is contaminated by explosive ordnance in the areas impacted by the earthquake. The needs remain immense, and we call on all those who are able to provide support for the earthquake response to do so. Turning to the situation in Gaza, and our colleagues at the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warn that further intensification of the continued offensive on Gaza City amid ongoing famine will push civilians even deeper into catastrophe. Today, our colleagues supporting displacement sites warn that the escalating hostilities in Gaza City are having horrific humanitarian consequences for people living at these sites, many of whom, as you know, were previously displaced from North Gaza. They say that many households are unable to move due to the high cost and lack of safe space to move to, with older people and those with disabilities especially affected. Our partners report that between the 14th and 31st of August, more than 82,000 new displacements have been recorded, including 30,000 people moving from north to south. Our partners describe conditions at these displacement sites, as you can imagine, as deplorable and overcrowded, with debris and waste accumulating near or in living areas. High temperatures have also intensified these unsanitary conditions, leading to widespread rodent and insect infestation. As a result, there are mounting health risks, with children developing skin rashes. Water supplies are inadequate, leading to large crowds around distribution points that makes it very difficult for those who most need it and the most vulnerable to actually get the water. Delivery trucks are often unable to get to the displacement sites, forcing families to travel a long distance for water. OCHA tells us that inside Gaza, we and our partners' movements also continue to face some impediments. Out of 16 missions coordinated with the Israeli authorities yesterday, 5 faced extremely long delays before receiving the green light from the Israeli authorities to move, including efforts to collect supplies at crossings. Despite these challenges, teams were able to pick up aid, including medical supplies, from the Karim Abu Salam crossing. 2 of the impeded missions were only able to partially accomplished. 8 other humanitarian movements were facilitated yesterday, while 3 had to be canceled by the organizers. Between the 17th and 30th of August, we and our partners collected 6,900 metric tons of wheat flour, food parcels, and bulk food supplies through daily convoys reaching from the Karim Abu Salam, and Zakim crossings. They delivered 60 metric tons of concentrated fodder to 600 livestock holders and helped operate 99 community kitchens, providing about 468,000 meals daily. To address malnutrition, they dispatched therapeutic formula in quantity sufficient to treat over 3,000 children for about 6 weeks, enough complementary food to support 1,400 infants and young children for up to 2 weeks, and high-energy biscuits sufficient for 4,600 pregnant and breastfeeding women for 2 weeks. They also collected supplements and other nutrition supplies from the crossings. To support Gaza's crippled health system, we and our partners provided 10 hemodialysis machines and hospital beds in the south, distributed reproductive health kits and 1,600 packs of diapers, led a blood donation campaign, collected a range of medical items from the crossings, also managed to train some medical staff, and supported the evacuation of 82 of the thousands of patients who could not be treated with the available medical facilities in Gaza. To mitigate water, hygiene, and sanitation concerns, our partners trucked 15,300 cubic meters of drinking water every day to 1,600 collection points within the Gaza. They also helped install new desalination plants and rehabilitate 2 wells and distributed hygiene kits to over 6,000 families across more than 36 displacement sites. Those are just some of the examples of the important work being done on the ground, but OCHA reminds us that overall, what aid workers are able to do is far from enough. A ceasefire is needed urgently, so is the opening of all land routes for larger volumes of essential supplies, including commercial ones, and the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages. Moving north to the situation in South Lebanon. I can tell you that we express our serious concern today about an incident that took place on September 2nd, in which Israeli Defense Force drones dropped grenades in the vicinity of a UNIFIL peacekeepers who were carrying out mandated tasks in support of the implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701. The mission said this. Our peacekeepers in Lebanon said this is one of the most serious attacks on UNIFIL personnel and assets since the cessation of hostilities agreement last November. 1 grenade impacted within 20 meters and 3 approximately 100 meters from UN personnel and vehicles. The drones were then observed returning south of the blue line. Thankfully, none of our colleagues were injured. We again stress that any acts that endanger the lives of peacekeepers are, of course, completely unacceptable, and we demand that the parties uphold their responsibilities to ensure the safety and security of peacekeepers and the inviolability of UN premises. Turning to Sudan, I can tell you that we very much welcome the announcement that the Adre crossing between Sudan and Chad will remain open for the movement of humanitarian supplies and personnel through the end of this year. Adre, as you know, is an essential lifeline for millions of people, mainly in the Darfur region, as well as parts of Kordofan. Our humanitarian colleagues report that since August of last year, more than 86,000 metric tons of vital aid have passed through this crossing point, which was enough to provide assistance to over 3.1 million people in that region. We remain committed to providing the much-needed support to people as access allows. Darfur, as you well know, has been hit hard by devastating landslides in the Jebel Mara. Our colleagues at WFP also tell us that they're doing everything possible to send aid in the area that is largely cut off by the floods. Across Sudan in general, heavy rains and flooding are making it even harder to deliver vital supplies. Fighting is also, of course, fueling the spread of cholera and other infectious disease. Once again, and here too, the only way forward is an immediate end to the hostilities and coordinated diplomatic engagement for the sake of the people of Sudan. A trip announcement to share with you from our friend Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of the Department of Peace Operations here at the United Nations. He will be visiting the Democratic Republic of the Congo from today, I think he arrived today, through the 7th of September. The mission follows his most recent visit in February and March this year and will serve to reaffirm our continued support for the ongoing peace processes and the protection of civilians in pursuit of peace and stability in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the greater Great Lakes region. Mr. Lacroix will begin his visit to Kinshasa tomorrow. There he will meet with national authorities, including the President and the Prime Minister, as well as representatives of the opposition parties, religious groups, to exchange on recent political and security developments in the UN mission's activities. Mr. Lacroix will then travel to Bunia in Ituri province, where he will meet with provincial authorities and security actors in civil society, local communities, and of course, his own UN personnel. The program will also include a stop at the UN mission's operating base in Fataki. Throughout his visit, Mr. Lacroix will emphasize the importance of sustained cooperation with Congolese partners, regional and international stakeholders, and underscore the UN's mission continued support to peace and security efforts in line with Security Council Resolution 2746. Meanwhile, what is going on in the east of the DRC, and our humanitarian colleagues say that continued violence in the province of South Kivu continue to claim lives and drive new displacement. In the northern part of the province, in Calais territory, our partners on the ground report that clashes between armed groups persisted as recently as yesterday. According to local sources, at least 22 women were raped during armed clashes in several villages in the territory between the 22nd and the 31st of August. Our local partners report that the victims did not receive medical care within the critical 72-hour period following incidents amid shortages of resources, including medical supplies, as well as security constraints. Sadly, due to recent funding cuts, more than half of the gender-based violence services have been suspended across the country. The violence also forced 23,000 human beings to flee their homes. That's in addition to the more 128,000 people who already been displaced in Kalehe between May and August of this year. In this territory, we and our humanitarian partners are providing nutrition support, health care, and assistance in agricultural recovery. Meanwhile, in the neighboring territory of Walungu, armed clashes between the 24th and the 27th of August left at least 12 civilians dead, several others injured. That's what local partners are telling us. The clashes also displaced more than 4,000 people. An estimated 100,000 people displaced in Walungu currently remain without assistance, as the deteriorating security situation has forced our humanitarian partners to suspend their operations in part of the territory since August. Access restrictions, severe funding shortfalls also having a negative impact on the response. The 2025 Humanitarian Response Plan, which seeks $2.5 billion to assist 11 million, is currently funded less than 15%, with only $376 million received to date. This shortage in funding severely limits our ability to reach the people who are in desperate needs. Lastly, I want to flag a pretty dramatic study from our friends at UNICEF, the UN Children's Fund. They warn that as global education funding faces steep cuts, an estimated 6 million additional children could be out of school by the end of next year. Around 1/3 of them are out of school in humanitarian crisis settings. The analysis notes that such a decline would push the number of out-of-school children worldwide from 272 million to 278 million. This is the equivalent of emptying out every primary school in Germany and Italy combined. According to UNICEF, the Office of Development Assistance for Education is projected to fall by the official development assistance for education is projected to fall by 3.2 billion, with just 3 donor governments accounting for nearly 80% of the cuts. That's 24% drop from 2023. The analysis warns that essential services such as school feeding programs, sometimes a child's only nutritious meal of the day, could see funding slashed by more than half, while support for girls' education is also set to decline significantly. Much more in line from UNICEF. Edie, then Deji.
Thank you, Steph. A couple of follow-ups. Yesterday, talking about Yemen and the Houthis, you said that there was a 19th detainee as an international staffer. Was that staffer released? Because today you only mentioned 18.
Yeah, I mentioned 18 nationals. Our international colleague remains unfree of movement, so we hope that will be resolved very quickly.
And you're not saying what country?
No.
Okay. Secondly, in Gaza, in all of these humanitarian movements, is the UN now able to get tents into Gaza?
I have not seen any updates that we are able to bring in shelter settings, but I will double check for you.
And thirdly, on UNI.F.I.L in South Lebanon, have senior UN officials been in contact with senior Israeli officials to condemn this attack?
I mean, there is nearly constant contact between UNI.F.I.L, the IDF, as well as the LAF. There is a whole mechanism for that. Deji.
Yeah, my question on Venezuela. Yesterday, U.S. President Trump released a video of U.S. strike a boat, what he called drug smuggling boat from Venezuela. Any position from the Secretary General on this incident?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously seen the announcement by the U.S. president. We've seen the video. I can tell you that in general, we remain very concerned about the heightened tensions between the United States and Venezuela. It is important that there be de-escalation and that a peaceful resolution of differences in accordance with international law and the Charter of the UN be found. Madame. No, sorry, the
Just a follow-up to that, are there concerns about the legality of that attack? Any questions that have been raised?
Look, I mean, I think we're not in a position to take a position on the legality. I mean, we're seeing issues relating to drug trade, to organized crime, and we all know that the transnational drug trade, transnational drug business poses a great threat to the region and beyond. What's important for us is that all those involved strengthen cooperation and constructive dialogue to ensure that efforts to deal with those threats of transnational crime are consistent with the rule of law, the protection of fundamental rights, cooperation, and so on. Senor, and then we'll go back to
more on that.
More on that,
You
yes.
seem to assume that they were drug traffickers, and
Yeah.
you take it for granted. That how do we know? Since they are all
I
killed.
mean, we've seen the reports and the position we've taken. Pam.
Thanks, Steph. I know it's a little in advance and it's UNGA, but do you expect the Secretary General to have a role in the climate summit that's announced for the days? I think it's just around UNGA,
Yes.
as he always does.
Yes, climate being a big focus of his
Yeah.
work. Okay. Abdelhamid, I think you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Stéphane. First, I have noticed that the reporting on Gaza had come toward the end of your briefing, which does not reflect the dangers that Gaza is facing, especially after invading Gaza. And I want to ask you today, there's 50
I'm sorry.
Palestinians
Sorry. Say again, Abdelhamid. I didn't understand your first comments.
Am I asking you, are you lowering the ranking of reporting on Gaza in your briefing toward the end almost? Does that reflect anything? Is that, do you see it
You're
that
telling me
not-
in the terms of the order of the stories that I
Yes.
read out? I mean, I don't. First of all, you know, everyone, whether in any country that is facing danger, deserves to be heard, and we spend our briefings here bringing the stories of those whose stories are not covered and whose voices are not heard to the forefront. And I think I would advise you to take a listen to exactly what I said before making such an assumption. Your question.
Second thing is I haven't heard the total number of people killed in Gaza and wounded for some time. Do you have the numbers?
Those numbers are issued by the Gaza Ministry of Health, so I think those are publicly available. I was focusing the briefing on what we were able to do to try to help the people of Gaza, and I think the detailed list, the granular list that I gave, I think should give you enough all of you information to write something, hopefully. Madame Bissam, and then go ahead, please.
Just on the issue of the revoking of visas for PA officials, do you have any updates on any contact between the UN and the US on that? You had said that.
Yeah, I mean we've raised this issue directly with United States authorities, based obviously, as we've said, under their obligations under the headquarters agreement. We're trying to get some clarification. And obviously, you know, I think it's the possible consequences of this decision are very concerning indeed.
So just to follow up, so you did convey that this was
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Steph. With regard to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization conference that was in Tianjin in China, Secretary General delivered a statement, and so other the leaders of the other participating nations. Does the Secretary General have any reaction to the whole event after it's settled, and especially for the part that President of China spoke about, which is the AI governance?
Well, I mean, I think the Secretary General's reaction, so to speak, to the summit is very much included in every word that he uttered at the forum, at the meeting of the SCO, and the issue of AI governance is one that he has spoken about quite often with concern. But obviously, we also welcome. You'll recall the decision by the General Assembly to back the Secretary General's own projects on AI governance. Alex.
Thanks, Steph. I have a follow-up on the visa question. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the participants of that meeting, especially from the U.S. side?
From our side, I can only speak from our side.
Oh.
It's from the legal counsel's office.
And when and where it took place?
Recently, I don't know if it was done by phone or in person with the U.S. mission. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steph. Just to follow up again on the attack near UNI.F.I.L, the Israeli military responded actually stating that it did not intentionally target the peacekeepers. Does the Secretary General accept this explanation, which has been, again, a reoccurring narrative?
Listen,
or more importantly, does he see it for what it is, as, again, illegal?
What I can tell you, whether or not they meant to do it or didn't mean to do it, what I can tell you is that the Israeli Defense Forces were fully informed in advance of the work that we were doing on road clearance in that area near Marwahin. So that's our position. They knew exactly where we were when we were going to be there, and obviously we're relieved that no one was hurt, but this could have been very tragic indeed. Okay.
I had a question.
Oh, sorry, Stefano and Iftikhar. I apologize. I'm just trying to get out.
Yeah, it's a follow-up on the U.N.I.F.I.L incident or not incident. The defense minister of Italy, Crosetto, he said that it's not an incident in the sense that Israel knew exactly what it was doing. So my question at this point is, did this Crosetto, the Minister of Defense, had a conversation today with the Secretary General or anybody from the UN that confirmed to him what you just said?
He did not have a conversation with the Secretary General. You should check with our colleagues in peacekeeping whether or not anybody at UNIFIL and peacekeeping had a conversation with Italian authorities. Iftikhar.
Thank you, Steph. Any update on the relief work of the earthquake in Afghanistan and the floods in Pakistan?
Well, I can tell you the earthquake in Pakistan. I think
Afghanistan.
The earthquake in Afghanistan. I read out what I had to. What I had to read out. I can tell you that the Secretary General is indeed very saddened by the massive loss of life that we've seen due to the floods in Pakistan, and that the UN family as a whole is very much focused on supporting the government of Pakistan and its relief efforts and the people of Pakistan. And I expect a more fuller statement to be released shortly on that. Okay, now I'm out. Goodbye.